So before I get started on this, I just want to make a quick note that I am no master of knives. I'm not trained in any way how to use a knife, but I do know how to not cut myself. So maybe if you're trying this at home and you're young or young-ish, ask for help, or this might not be the project for you. If you don't know how to use a knife and you're trying it at home, just be careful not to cut your thumb off, and don't be an idiot and just kind of watch what you're doing, take your time. So to start off, I had a 2x4 that I started whittling down, and I did use an axe at some points to get some of the knots out, also to kind of thin it out so the blade wasn't so thick, but this was a full 2x4 like scrap piece that we had when I started. After I had the shape that I really wanted, I was really lucky to be able to go over to Nick's lovely parents' house and use their sander, because this would have taken me effing forever to try to sand by hand. Once I had it all sand out, I brought it back home and cut out this little indent. This is where the hilt's going to go. I think that's what it's called. And the hilt piece that I made was actually just another stick that I had whittled down with a knife and then sanded by hand. Once I had the shape that I wanted, I was ready to glue it in. I used a glue that is kind of like a hot glue, but it's cold. And I actually find that this is a little bit more solid than a hot glue gun. So I put that in there, and then these two other pieces that I'm putting on were actually little circle round pieces that I bought at Michael's that I ended up just kind of cutting off the edges. Oh, so I guess I did pay a little bit of money. I think these were $3 for, you got 6 of them or something, which I'm going to use the other ones to make a tutorial for a MS Swan badge. So, well worth it. This is that spackle that I bought originally for the Iron Man mask, or the Star-Lord mask, and I'm able to reuse it again on this. And I'm just kind of covering up all the holes and stuff like that and making a little bit more of a smoother surface just to fill in those gaps. Now I'm ready to paint. I covered the whole thing in white acrylic paint, and I only did one layer. After I did the white acrylic paint, let it dry overnight, and then I started working on my silver paint. I think I did 2 coats of silver paint and then let it dry overnight and then started doing the dry brushing. You can do more coats if you like, but I'm just lazy and that's what worked for me. The black was the dry brushing to kind of get the creases and stuff like that and where all the little lines were, and it kind of like makes it pop a little bit. It's kind of like contouring your face, but on a sword. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, on the sword itself, too, for some reason, I don't have this on tape of me carving in these little marks that I used an engraver for. After I had done it, it took me not very long, but after I had done it, I realized that I really didn't have to do it. You can just do it with a paintbrush and do it with black paint. Because I did carve them in, there were lines and gaps and stuff like that, so I kind of used a dry brush technique where I painted on and then kind of sponged it off so it just got into those creases just to give it a little bit of like depth and so you could see it a little bit better. Now I know before you say something, the little swirl thing that I did on it didn't go far enough down the sword. I kind of was going off a picture that I had seen on Google, and this is how I thought it went, and then when I showed it to Nick, he was like, that's wrong. So I'm sorry that it's not down the sword. Maybe when you do yours, if you do it, you can make yours longer. But this is how mine ended up, so that's just what it is. Now that I'm ready to glue on my leather scraps, which these are very much so leather scraps, I have been using this same chunk of leather for I can't even tell you how long. I found it at a thrift store and it has been miracles. I have made like so many swords, quivers, used it on everything. And I'm getting down to the last little bit, so it's kind of sad. This is like a leather scrap like finale going on right now. But anyway, so you just want to cover it, layer it up all the way down. I'm not sure exactly what the sword in the movie actually has, but I feel like leather is a good equivalent to whatever it may be. After I covered it all in leather, I did a little bit of detailing with silver paint just to do in, they had these like kind of vine things going up the handle. So I did do a little bit of that work on there. I I don't know. I think that it could wipe off if you handle it too much. But after I had done the silver painting, I did give it a good coat of like an acrylic sealer. And I used it today in rehearsal. This is kind of like a videoception thing going on right now because I'm recording this actual voiceover after I had recorded the end little blurb. So when you watch the end blurb, I talk about going to rehearsal tonight. Well, now I'm back from rehearsal and I used it tonight and it rocked and it didn't wear off and it was fine. So the acrylic sealer is great and it worked just perfectly and it protects all the wood and everything like that and kind of holds it together. So if you can pick up some of that, then that works just fine. We're in the washroom again because it's dark outside and it's only 5 o'clock and it's like pitch black outside. But it's getting to be winter time, so I have a very limited amount of time that I can actually film these things now, seeing that, most of my time is taken up by the hard labor of work and all things else that suck. Anyway, this is what I'm doing today. Sting, Bilbo Baggins' sword. So I'm doing a show. It's a traditional Christmas pantomime. I've been doing these for years, and I am casted as the principal boy, which is a typical girl gets casted into the boy part if you know pantos. If you're not, if you don't, then go and see them because they're pretty funny and they're like to pop culture and there's a lot of fun things in them. Anyway, there's a sword fight in it, and they were like, I think like the sword you're gonna have is gonna be like the sword like Sting from Lord of the Rings. I'm like, I can make that. So this is what I ended up with. I mean, it's not perfect, obviously, but it's something that I was able to do in, I don't know, a week or so with like slowly working on it. It basically, it's completely made out of wood, and this leather, man, I've been using this leather for years on projects, but that's the gist of it. Not too complicated. It was a 2x4 that I trimmed down. This part was actually just a stick that I trimmed down as well. I sanded the whole thing, and like I said, this leather I've had for years, and I was able to do so many projects on it that now I think this is like the last little bit of it. So with that being said, no more swords maybe for a while, but anyway, so this is what it looks like, and I think it turned out pretty cool. I mean, it is what it is, right? That's all you can say about it. But there you go. There's Sting.